Recording, yeah. So we're just talking about unconditional love. I think we'll have a little, excuse me, we'll have a little tap on the bell just to all connect to this space and this time that we're in together. Just allowing the bell to come to us. Noticing how we're all connected in the hearing of that sound. And in the silence that follows. Bringing attention to our bodies, to our faces, and letting go of any unnecessary tension, letting go of any anticipation, control. Coming back to find the breath at the center of our experience. And breathing in a way that's nourishing, soothing, cleansing. And allowing the body to soften and to let go just a little bit more with every exhale. Letting go of the need to be anything other than what we are right now. Allowing ourselves just to rest in this space. To soak in some mindfulness. And perhaps find some rest here as well. Okay, so today, yeah, is unconditional love. It is a big topic, and as a few of you pointed out, it's difficult. It's difficult to attain. It is held spiritually in very high regard in terms of the ultimate aim, really. But I think it's also something, if it's, there's layers to it. And it's certainly my experience that the obstacles to that love aren't out there in the world, in other people's behaviors, actions, or decisions, thoughts. It's much closer than that. It's where we are. And the essence of today's talk is about where we are with ourselves, with that love. And the quote that started the session this week, or the email, is, you can only know the world as much as you're willing to know yourself, just as it is with love. So we can only love ourselves or love the world as much as we're willing to love ourselves. And this is a difficult journey, because a lot of the stuff that we don't like about ourselves is hidden from us. We're not very good at facing it. So we can often live somewhat ignorant to this whole process of self-condemnation that's going on under the surface. People like Jung come up with the term shadow. You know, the shadow is the part of us that we wish didn't exist, that um, is full of characteristics and thoughts and behaviors that we don't value or we've been taught that are unacceptable, so we suppress them. And it's done, I guess, in a way to live a more peaceful life, to live a more loving life, to not pay attention to the ugly or dangerous or ashamed or angry parts of ourselves. So we're encouraged to kind of ignore that and look for more peaceful and loving ways to be. And I'm totally with that. But it's not until we are willing to kind of lift the lid on that inner stuff and start to look inside and find what we call common humanity, this understanding that what's going on in me deep down is human. I didn't make it up, I didn't invent it. There are the seeds for everything that's good in me and the seeds for everything that's bad. And depending on the lives that we've led, certain seeds will sprout more than others. But it's not a blame or judgment, it's simply a condition of humanity, of the way the mind and the body and the world work. A chaplain, was a prison chaplain in Australia, actually reminded me of one of you people here. Um, he said to me that within him, this is a long time ago, he said within him is the capacity for the greatest good and the worst of human activity and behavior. And it's one of those truths that sort of sunk in on a relatively superficial level at the time, but it was quite profound, and I do remember it. But since then, like a lot of truths, there's a deepening effect to it as well. It's not just saying that I see myself in everyone, which is helpful. It's not admitting that we're capable of bad things and we have bad things. It's deeper than that. It's within me is the capabilities of the best and the worst that humanity can offer. The dormant seeds of goodness and badness. And it's in that understanding that we can start to approach unconditional love. Because conditional love is based on judgments and conditions that we deem favorable or acceptable. But for unconditional love to be unconditional, it has to be here. It has to be now, and it has to overpower any act of badness or evil as well. It's unconditional. We often use the term unconditional love that we have for our children, but I would argue that that's conditional based on the fact that they're your children. We may love them unconditionally in the way that, you know, whatever they do, we forgive, but it's still conditional. Unconditional love, real, true, unconditional love is deeper than that. It's for everyone and everything. And in my own experience, This arose in the retreat for me, that the Vipassana retreat, for a short period of time when I saw deep into into my own failings and judgments and discomforts and anger and shame. And I forgave myself. I accepted those parts of me with the understanding that I didn't have a choice about them. They're just there. All of this stuff it's just here, and we can see it. If we look in, we can see some of it to the depth that we're willing to look, or that we're able to. We can see these things that we don't like, and we can learn to love and accept them on the basis that they're here as they are, that we didn't choose them. And it's when we transfer that same understanding to somebody else is when we start to feel that love. It's like all of a sudden we're in the same boat. There's no judgment about my condition, and there's no judgment about your condition. I don't want this to get confused with being passively accepting of bad behaviors, of, whatever people say and do. We're not just laying down and letting the world run over us full steam, but we're seeing, and it's the seeing that what we react to most strongly in others is also present within ourselves, or at least the capacity for it. I see the world as something of a mirror to reflect to me my judgments and my limitations. What am I blaming other people for? What am I getting emotionally charged about? Can I be honest and highlight that, and then perhaps reflect it back on myself? Am I doing that to myself? Am I not trusting myself? Whatever it is, the behavior we see and react to, it may be worth just glancing back and finding out if it's also true for us. This is hard work, this isn't the kind of stuff we dip into if we're not feeling pretty robust in the sense of self-compassion. We need to turn that lens inwards. We need a fair dose of self-compassion going on, a real deep understanding. And this is for me where compassion and understanding are synonymous. And compassion for me is a form of unconditional love. So as we start to understand more about ourselves, about others in the world, we naturally start to have more compassion. When we look through a narrow slither of perspective, it's easy to judge and to blame others, to really extract one particular behavior, one particular phrase, or just one particular part of that person and amplify it whilst ignoring every other condition that has contributed to that. It's a form of ignorance, and it's lack of understanding. When we step back and see the bigger picture, that if I was that person, I'd be acting in the same way. And if they were me, they'd be acting like me. It's not personal. So it's a big challenge, this. It's a big challenge for us to start to scratch the surface of our own flaws and shortcomings, our weaknesses. But it's in that journey in when we can firstly see what is there and then acknowledge that we didn't choose to put it there, whether it's good or bad. This stuff's just here, it's in the basement already. We're just turning the light on. And when we see it for what it is, it's a product of our conditioning, our upbringing, genetics. And we can start to see it and accept it. And we may not like it, but we're going deeper than that. We're like, okay, that's here. It's present, it's real. And can I soften towards it? And that journey in, when we reach, I don't know how deep it is or how deep that goes, but certainly there's a point of acceptance that's available where the boundaries between good and bad fall away, where the boundaries between you and me fall away, where the need to judge and blame and point the finger isn't there. It's just not, doesn't exist. We're looking through the eyes of unconditional love. And every particle of the universe is included in that. Again, otherwise it's conditional. So I hope that resonates or makes sense, or is you're able to follow that. It was certainly a big experience for me in the retreat, and it's something that I was debating sharing because it's almost like, oh, this is what happened to me, but it's also very powerful, and the journey toward it is not in the direction that we think. It's not about seeking greater good things. It's not about pursuing more love. It's the opposite way round. It's going deep, as deep as we're able to. We might not always be in this position to do this, and that's a real thing, to listen to. But if we do have the time, the space, and the love, the compassion, to look in and just start to notice, oh, I don't like that about myself. And then forgive ourselves because we didn't put it there. So we're going to do a little meditation, but I'll first of all just pause and see if anyone has any questions. Okay, thank you. So some deep stuff in this today, and we're not going all the way there with the practice today. We're just going to start to develop our awareness, to work on turning that light of awareness up a bit, making it a bit brighter, and also feeling the warmth of that light, the compassion of that light of awareness. So finding a position that's comfortable, one that enables your body to let go of that holding pattern, that stiffness. And it can take a few goes just to let go of that, just to find that sinking in. And then giving our bodies something of an alertness as well, an awakeness, so we don't fall beyond our awareness. Just on that fine line between effort and no effort, between alertness and relaxation. And if we find ourselves moving into sleepiness, drowsiness, and if we have a say in that matter, then maybe just bringing a bit more alertness into the body. And if we find ourselves pushing through the other side into tension or expectation, just reminding ourselves just to let go a little bit, to relax and to receive the moment. Our practice today is simply about observing, without judgment. Seeing things as they really are. It may be helpful to consider our own motivations for being here today. Have a little glimpse of insight into why we're here today, doing this meditation. And allowing the answer to come by itself, not forcing or forming it. It might be helpful to shut the eyes and start to bring our awareness inwards, noticing the breath. Noticing the sensations of the breath. Sensations of the breath as it comes in and out of the nose. As the air travels down the airways into the lungs, through the chest, all the way down into the belly with the diaphragm. So just focusing on the area where we feel breathing the most. Letting go of any need to find anything special, to achieve anything. Just letting that fall away and resigning ourselves to this which is already here. Maybe a very subtle sensation of breathing, it may be a more obvious sensation. And just fixing our attention here while we allow the mind to settle. And of course, it doesn't settle down completely. We're not expecting not to have thoughts. That's unrealistic and improbable. But can we notice thoughts? Can we notice that we've started thinking and release our grasp of those thoughts and just decide to come back home to the breath? And just coming back to the breath each time the mind wanders into thinking. We let go of that mental formation and return to the felt sense of breathing, the physicalness of it. Remembering that each moment is the meditation. There are no wrong turns. Simply observing. Observing if the mind is busy. Observing if the body is tense or too relaxed. Observing how the breath comes in and out of the body. And can we expand our awareness to include more of the body, to include the whole body? Noticing any sensations of contact, such as the ground or our seat or clothing. Maybe the subtleness of the air against the skin. Maybe there's even more subtle sensations. Maybe the tingling within the fingers or another part of the body, the face perhaps. Remembering these aren't criteria for us to mark ourselves against. We're simply bringing awareness to different parts of the body, to different sensations, with an openness, a curiosity. Not looking under a rock without any expectation that we should find something, just out of curiosity. And bringing that same awareness into the space around us, noticing if there's things going on. We're not excluding any experiences here. We're opening to the fullness of our experience. And that experience can deepen when we release that insistence that thoughts have the answer. If we rely solely on thinking, we're missing out on feeling. We're missing out on all the other senses. Because we can smell without thoughts, we can taste without thoughts, we can hear without thoughts. We can feel sensations without thoughts. And we can even see without thoughts. Thoughts are added to the experience. It's a very helpful way to label and understand the world, but it's never meant to be the world itself. So if we find ourselves lost in thinking, in thoughts, we can simply bring our attention back to one of the senses, bringing it back to the felt sense of the breath coming in the body. So we're feeling the touch of the air. We might even smell the air. We might even taste it. We may hear the breath. A helpful pointer is asking ourselves, what is the breath without the word breath? What is breathing without the word breathing? This is pointing us towards the direct experience of the breath. And in a way, this direct experience is the same for me as it is for you. The raw material of the breath, the consciousness of it. It's when we label it and separate it that it becomes personal. So with any experience, whether it be the breath or sounds or sensations, we can let go of the labeling and come closer to the felt sense of that experience as it changes, as it unfolds. And it's always possible to start again. But letting go of the narrative and coming home to the senses. And during this practice, we may have been dealing with all kinds of thoughts. So the next part of this practice is simply to notice the thoughts. Can we observe them without judging them, without buying into them, investing in them. We can step back from identification with thoughts by just acknowledging that that is a thought. I'm having the I'm not good enough thought. I'm too distracted thought. I'm having the I'm tired, I'm bored, I'm whatever thought. Noticing that I am aware that I'm having that thought. And noticing how automatically those thoughts arise. They might seem relevant or irrelevant, justified or random, helpful or unhelpful, good or bad. But we can see clearly that they are just coming and going, like sound waves. It's simply a process of the mind to absorb sensory information and to tell stories about it. And we don't need to take it personally. It's simply just one aspect of our experience. And thoughts, if we're unconsciously controlled by them, they can make us do the silliest things, most regretful things, if we get lost in them. Yet when we turn our attention to them, we see that they're just more like vapor than anything else. It's like a strip of movie film. And that we didn't choose it. The paradox is it's only once we completely let go of the idea of ownership or controlling our thoughts that we can start to relate to them in a helpful way. It's a messy old affair being stuck in unconscious identification with thinking, being lost in the story, subject to the emotions and feelings and actions of that thought. But we can just develop that awareness, just to watch, to be on guard. Do I need to invest in that thought? Do I really believe in that thought? And we bring this meditation to a close by bringing the touch of warmth, something gentle, maybe a hand on the chest or holding the opposite hand. Connecting with that sensation if it's possible. Feeling that touch. And I love you because you suffer. I love you because you're free. I love you for our similarities and our differences. I embrace your darkness, pain, selfishness, and impure thoughts, just as I embrace your fragility, peace, strength, playfulness, and generosity. There is nothing in you that isn't also within me. Thank you.